What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Prepared Pantry, episode 13, and part 1 in our series of recreating the recipes of Ma Glockner's restaurant. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, make sure you catch the last video where I kind of explained what that was about. It's a pretty short video, I promise. Then come back here and you'll be all caught up. So a couple of the side dishes that go with the original Birch chicken dinner. A garden salad with house-made French dressing and baked sweet potato, simple things done simply. They're just good kind of as they are. Not going to do a whole lot talking about those, although we will serve those in the last episode when we do the chicken. So the most important things, I think, are the birch chicken itself, Ma Glockner cinnamon rolls, and the coconut cream pie for dessert. So we're actually going to just approach this in a backwards sort of way and start with the coconut cream pie this week. Next week, we will talk about the cinnamon rolls, and I will hopefully have some information, still trying to figure out how exactly I'm going to attack the chicken, but hopefully I'll have an update for you then. And 3 weeks from now, we will have the chicken episode finally. So before we get into any of that, I want to thank you all again so much for continuing to watch the videos and for your continued support. Please give the videos a thumbs up when you like them, share them on social media, and please subscribe if you have not already. Just click the red button down below and make sure you hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I have a new video out. So the coconut cream pie recipe, as far as that's concerned, I think the version that River Falls is selling now is sort of their own version. I don't know that it bears much resemblance to the original Ma Glockner's recipe. It's more of a thick sort of pastry cream that's all throughout. It's not like there's a custard base and a cream on the top. It's got good coconut flavor, but don't get me wrong, but there isn't much crust to it, and I think we can do better. So I'm going to try and do something that I think would, if not replicate, pay homage to Ma Glockner's original coconut cream pie recipe. So we're going to start actually with a recipe from the Toll House Inn cookbook. Which you may remember we've discussed a little bit in previous episodes in reference to the Toll House chocolate chip cookies, in addition to the Toll House brownies that we made a whole episode about before. More probably coming up in the future on the brownies, by the way. I've been doing a little bit of thinking on it and a little bit of research, and some things were done wrong, but more on that another time. So we're going to start with a coconut custard cream pie as outlined in this book, and I'm going to make a couple of tweaks to it just to make it a little bit better, punch it up a little bit, and like I said, truly pay homage to Ma Glockner. So let's get started. Okay, so pretty simple ingredients we have for this recipe, actually. We have 1 cup of sweetened coconut flakes. We have 3 eggs, 1/4 of a cup of sugar, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. We have 2 cups of whole milk. You can barely see it, but it's there. 1/2 teaspoon of coconut extract. That's just to ramp up the flavor. We've got 1 cup of heavy cream and 1 tablespoon or thereabouts of confectioner's sugar. So we're going to be making a single crust pie today, and I'm going to be using the same recipe for pie crust as my chicken pot pie video, which you can check that out if you haven't seen it yet. The first half of the video really just discusses the crust. So it's a really simple crust, comes together relatively easily with few ingredients, sour cream crust, kneaded into a dough, separated into 2 pieces, and kind of flattened into discs of dough. When it's wrapped in plastic wrap, and you'd refrigerate it for a little while before you rolled it out, at that stage you can freeze it and store it for any time you need it in the future. So there's no reason not to make the double crust pie dough recipe. Use one for this and freeze one for later. You can always use it later to make another single crust pie like this. You can maybe choose to make a chicken pot pie with only a top crust. It's how a lot of restaurants do it. You could even use it if you don't have any potatoes, you want to top a shepherd's pie. Very versatile. Nothing wrong with having store-bought pie crust in the freezer all the time. I have them too, but I certainly do like having my own homemade pie crust in the freezer and ready to go when I need them to. Just thaw it out and roll it out and you're good to go. So we're going to start this recipe with 1 pie crust rolled out to about 11 or 12 inches. This is probably about 11.5, give or take, roughly in most places if I measured it all around. Now we're going to get this into a pie plate and blind bake it. So first I'm going to get some of this stuff out of the way, and we'll come back with our pie plate and get things ready. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is get our crust into the pie plate. I rolled this out earlier and chilled it for a little while with plastic wrap over it in the fridge, just to kind of help make sure that it was good and solid when we need to work with it now. So I'm going to just try and use the parchment paper to sort of flip this into the pan. And I'm going to just sort of lower it in and hopefully get it pretty even all the way around. I just want to make sure that this is sort of pressed as evenly as I can get it against the bottom and the edges and the sides of the pie plate. Just try to make sure you don't have any real tears or big issues. Now, we generally want to keep this from falling down while we're trying to blind bake the crust. We're going to bake the crust before we pour the custard filling in to give it a head start and get some browning on it before we pour a wet custard base into it. So normally, you know, you'd trim off the excess here. I'm actually going to just fold it over and use that to kind of build up a little bit of a thicker crust edge at the top here, make a little bit more of a lip to kind of help give the top of the pie some structure. This will kind of also help make it easier to lift a piece out of the pie plate in the end. And we're going to come back over and crimp this too. And if there are a couple of places that are a little thin, you can always pull some from there. And again, this isn't really a perfect science. We just want to make some kind of nice edge here. And I'm just going to pinch this together, my fingers, kind of the way I would do when closing the top of a 2-crust pie. Again, just to give this somewhat of a firm and sturdy edge. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a sheet of parchment paper that I have crumpled up and uncrumpled and recrumpled several times to make it good and flexible, just so that it doesn't wrinkle up and cause a problem here. But we're going to line the pie plate with the parchment and pour in, these are just some dry garbanzo beans. You can really use any dry beans, it doesn't really matter. And for the most part, it's not going to hurt the beans either. But I'm going to just use these as, you can use pie weights if you have them, which are sort of marble-sized little ceramic weights. They're designed exactly for this, but this is just going to help prevent the pie from bubbling up and causing problems. You want it to stay nice and flat in here as we bake it. So I'm going to just fill this up with my weights. Just remember, these are going to be very hot when it comes out of the oven, so you're going to need to let it cool for a bit. You might be able to just sort of use the parchment as a sling and pull the whole thing out, but they will be hot, so be careful. We're going to bake this for about 15 minutes in a 400-degree oven, and we're looking for it to just start to brown a little bit on the edges, not too much. Again, we just want to give the crust a head start. We're going to get this into the oven, and we're going to come back and work on our coconut. Okay, so our pie shell is blind baking in the oven. While that goes, we are going to put our cup of sweetened coconut flakes onto a cookie sheet lined with foil, and just sort of spread this out as thinly as we can get it. And there's plenty of oil, or there should be plenty of oil in this, that you shouldn't have to worry about it sticking. What we're going to do is, when the pie shell comes out of the oven and is done, or is ready, we're going to crank the temperature from 400 to 450, and we are going to toast this coconut until we see it starting to lightly brown and get a little bit of color. And that's just going to, again, help with an extra little ramp up and pop of coconut flavor. So, when the pie shell comes out, temperature goes up, this goes in. Once this is toasted, it'll come out, and as the pie shell has mostly cooled and the coconut has cooled, we will get started on our custard filling. Right, so we are back, and we now have our pre-baked or par-baked pie shell and our toasted coconut. So the first thing we are going to do is add our sugar. Add our salt to the bowl. And then start cracking our eggs. We're just going to get those whisked together a bit, beat the eggs, get them mixed with the sugar and the salt. And add the extract and the milk. Okay, and now we're going to add about 3/4 of the toasted coconut. We'll save about 1/4 of it. Let's see, that's about right. And we are going to pour this into our prepared shell. And just try to make sure that the coconut stays distributed in there. Okay, this is going to go into a 450-degree oven for about 15 minutes. And we're going to reduce it to 325, and we're going to continue to bake it until a knife inserted into the custard comes out clean. I'm going to say probably at least 15 minutes more, and I'm going to start checking it and going in 5-minute increments after that. But once we get this in the oven, we're going to come back and make the whipped cream for the topping. Okay, we're not going to need any of this stuff really until the pie has cooled completely. So once it comes out of the oven, it's going to cool completely, and we're actually going to refrigerate it for at least 2 to 4 hours. Probably going to just refrigerate overnight before we put the whipped cream and the last of the toasted coconut on top. But we're going to go ahead and whip our cream. See what we're looking like. Just about at soft peaks. I'm going to go ahead and add the sugar, powdered sugar. And for the heck of it, we're going to go and add another ½ teaspoon of coconut extract to the whipped cream here too. I think that's about the consistency we want. I'm going to put this in a bowl in the refrigerator, and we'll have it ready for when we're topping our cooled pie tomorrow. All right, so the pie has chilled in the refrigerator overnight, and we are ready to finish it. Very simply, we're just going to take our whipped cream. Now this whipped cream, you'll remember, is a little bit stabilized by the fact that it's got some sugar in there. And the last of the toasted coconut on top. Now, that, I think, is a coconut cream pie that Ma Glockner would be proud of. Of course, this is ready, so we can go ahead and taste. Let's see. See if we can lift a piece out without a cake server. Look at that. Just look at that cross section. Nice custard layer underneath with toasted coconut in there. Firm crust. Holds up. The coconut whipped cream on top. Let's give it a taste. This is good. Those Toll House tried and true recipes, man. Every time. I think this would definitely do Ma Glockner proud. It's just such a creamy custard, and you still get that firm and crispy texture of the coconut. And again, just such a good all-around crust. Guys, that is it for another one. Don't forget to tune in next week when we're going to take on the cinnamon rolls, or the week after that when we take on the birched chicken. Give the video a like, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you next time.